Join us next time for Moments with Marianne, when host Marianne Pestana brings another inspirational gifted leader to help us grow. Tune in every second Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for Moments with Marianne, when the Dream Vision 7 radio network is at 1510 a.m. Boston. Or catch Moments with Marianne every Thursday and Friday at 5 p.m. and 5 a.m. Eastern Time by going to dreamvision7radio.com. To learn how Marianne started her business from the ground up, visit mariannepestana.com. Don't miss this. And remember, make every moment count.
Hello and welcome to Moments with Marianne. Today we've got a great show lined up. I'm so excited. One of the amazing people from The Secret, an amazing author who has inspired and fed my soul over the years, is here to spend some time with us and almost doesn't need an introduction. His name is Joe Vitale. He is the star of the hit movie The Secret and president of Hypnotic Marketing. So Joe's often been called the Buddha of the Internet. He's written many books, including The Attractor Factor, Zero Limits, Life's Missing Instruction Manual, and his newly released book, The Awakened Millionaire. So welcome to the show, Joe.
Well, thank you. I'm flattered. I'm excited. Can't wait to get into this. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, well, definitely. Most definitely. I saw that you had another book coming out, and I was like, oh, gosh, we need to chat with you, especially this book, The Awakened Millionaire. Ooh.
Yeah, that's the most recent one, The Awakened Millionaire. It's a manifesto for what I'm calling the spiritual wealth movement. And what I'm trying to do is help people make peace with prosperity, because so many people are struggling. They have this unconscious rage against money, wealth, and success. They don't even know it's there. It's unconscious. And I went through that. As you know, I was homeless for a long time. I was in poverty for 10 years. And when I finally realized that a large part of that was all due to my belief system, what I believed about money, what I believed about success, what I believed about spirituality, what I believed about myself, what I believed about deservingness, when I unearthed those beliefs and changed those beliefs and realized that money was really just neutral, it's not anything bad, it's neutral, and it's actually a great force for good in your life. You can use it to fulfill your mission and your life calling. Then my life turned around. And so what I'm trying to do is to help everybody else, because so many people are struggling and they don't understand why, and they're often doing the right things but not getting the results they want. So The Awakened Millionaire is my manifesto. It's my wake-up call. It's my attempt to blend the spiritual and the material so people can have both. They can be at peace with this, and they can stop the war inside themselves.
That's so important. I've met a lot of people who are very spiritual, and there is that huge angst with money. It's like,
that's exactly right.
I don't deserve it, or there's always something going on. And to be able to find out what those limiting beliefs are and then make those changes, I mean, that could be pretty dynamic.
It's very dynamic, and what the spiritual people don't know is that it's a form of self-sabotage and a self-delusion. They're actually participating in a kind of spiritual snobbery when they think that money is bad, or they're above money, or money isn't spiritual. And they really need to wake up to the fact that they're coming from a judgment that is anti-spiritual to begin with. Because in a truly spiritual view of the world, we wouldn't be judging things as right or wrong or bad or good. We'd be looking at everything as having its place in the world, and we'd be more lovingly and unconditionally accepting of it all, including money. So the big thing for the so-called spiritual people to realize is that they're not being spiritual when they put down money or success or themselves. They're coming from a very egotistical, judgmental place. And this is kind of my tough love approach to waking us all up, is to realize that that's self-sabotage, that's self-delusion. In reality, when we follow our passion and we fulfill our life calling, our life mission, whatever it is for each one of us, and each one of us has that, we can use money, we can leverage it to fulfill our mission. And this is a huge insight. One of my favorite quotes is from Walt Disney, because he said, "I want to make money from my movies so I can continue making movies." There's purity in that statement. I want to make money from my movies so I can continue making more movies. That makes so much sense. I want to make money from my books so I can continue writing more books. Anybody that's pursuing their life calling, whatever their spiritual mission is, needs to be at peace with money, because money is one of the most agreed upon useful tools for achieving and attracting our life goals. And so that's what I'm doing with this book, The Awakened Millionaire, is, in a very real sense, awakening people to the truth of what's going on in their lives so they can break free. I want them to be happy. I want them to participate in the great joys of life. I want them to be spiritual and realize they're in a physical body in a material world, and let's enjoy that.
Yeah.
All that and more.
Well, and I think that's one of the things I really appreciated about your book, is that it brings that together, and like you said, it is that tough love, because most people, when they hear that are in that spiritual, if they're spiritual workers or have that spiritual path, a lot of them have really picked up that, that horrible belief system that, money is like a bad thing if you are spiritual, and it really just isn't the case. Now, in your book, you talk about, just money in itself, and I'd like for you to expand on how is money real? Is that even like a real thing?
I love it. Is money real? Let's start there.
I mean, the guys on Wall Street would probably feel differently, but
Yeah, right. They would argue for the reality of it, but money's an illusion. Money's this agreed-upon means of exchange. We invented money, and not all that long ago, to replace having to give furs to somebody for bushels of corn. It replaced the bartering system. But the problem is that we project meaning onto money, whether it's coin or the bills or whatever people are using in whatever country that they're in. And this is what I realized by traveling so much around the world. I know when I went to Russia, they put their money in my hands, and to me, it wasn't real because I didn't grow up respecting that form of currency. And when I went to Poland, they put their money in my hand, and I went, well, once again, this isn't real, because I didn't grow up respecting the euro. When I went to Bermuda, or I went to Canada, or I went to any number of other places, Finland and other ones, they all had different currency, and yet to them it was valuable. And so when you start looking at this from a wider perspective, you realize that money is nothing but paper, ink, coin, and we're the ones who are projecting meaning onto it. For most of us, we project survival onto it, and that is a driving force in all of us because it's hardwired into our reticular activating system in our brain. And it's a good thing because we all want to survive. But we're not fighting dinosaurs or cavemen or anything like that anymore, so we don't have to be so desperate about money. It's this idea that money is a cure for survival, and we come after it with this desperation that actually pushes it away from us. That's the law of attraction, which was the movie The Secret was about the law of attraction. Some of my early books, like The Attractor Factor, were about the law of attraction. People need to realize that they attract into their lives what they love, what they hate, and what they fear. And if they really are desperate about money, they will actually have the feeling of desperation active in their law of attraction field, and they won't attract money. They'll actually repel money. So there's a lot of internal work we have to look at here to realize money is absolutely meaningless. It is as neutral as can be. It is certainly a form of energy, and we've agreed that we can use it. But we want to tear down all of our emotional baggage around it and realize it's actually a tool. It's actually the useful thing to help get our dreams come true. So there's a whole lot here, and my goodness, that's why I wrote a whole book about this. So it's easier to explain.
It's very informative. But I think it's important because when we talk about eliminating, belief systems, things that people have carried along for a long time, and it's been, for some of us, it's been drilled into us like, hey, money doesn't grow on trees. Right. Things are hard to come by. You have to work hard.
Yeah.
All these, really limiting beliefs. When you were making that shift, how long did it take for you to get to the place that you are now, to remove those blocks?
That's a great question. Well, it took me a long time because I was doing it by myself. I didn't have a coach. I didn't have a mentor. We didn't have the Internet. We didn't have shows like this. Most of my learning and discoveries were by me going to the public library, reading books, and then doing my best to use it as a mirror to reflect on what might be going on in me. So it took me a decade to slowly crawl out of the muck. And so that was the dark night of the soul for me, so to speak. It does not have to take long today or for anybody listening today because we've got tools, we've got books, we've got courses, we've got shows like this wonderful one we're doing right now. There's all kind of things to aid in our transformation. The way I wrote the book, The Awakened Millionaire, was to assist people in a faster, more accelerated awakening to their own belief system. Because I did have all those beliefs you were just talking about, and I had other ones. I remember my father telling me when I was a kid, the best way to double your money is to fold it over and put it back in your pocket. And it was cute, it was charming, but it was also a limiting belief.
Yeah.
And I also knew about the hard work belief because when I was 5 years old, my father took me out on the railroad tracks, which is where he was working, and had me laboring at 5.
At 5? Oh,
at 5 years old. Now, I don't know that I did much work at 5, but at the same time, he wanted to train me that if you want to make money, you go out here and you sweat for it.
Yeah.
I had to get over all of those beliefs and more in order to break free, because now, of course, I believe that when you follow your passion, your life mission, your calling, whatever it is that you're excited, enthusiastic about, then you're following what is the will of God or the divine or the universe, whatever people want to call that. And then when you make peace with money and you realize money is actually neutral and you can use it to help fulfill your mission, then you can allow it to come into your life. And so there's this wonderful ease and flow at that point because you've broken free. But I really believe at this point you don't need to take 10 years. Change can happen in a moment. You can read the right paragraph in a book. You can hear the right statement in a conversation like this one. You can have the right insight during the day or during the night, and suddenly your whole life redirects. I really feel that we are in a belief-driven universe. Change your beliefs, and your universe changes. It's not about changing the universe. It's about changing your beliefs. And that can happen really fast.
Well, it can now, and I really want, I'm sure you hear this all the time, but I want to thank you personally for bringing the information forward that you have, because in my viewpoint, I really feel you're one of the pioneers that has really helped with that massive shift. And there was a reason why The Secret was so popular and that all of your other books have been bestsellers. And it's because you are bringing forth information that is allowing people to make those shifts and changes in their life without having to take the 20 years. You know, they can purchase the Awakened Millionaire and start working on themselves today, as opposed to, you know, going to the library and trying to figure it all out themselves. You know, there's roadmaps.
I really feel that, and I thank you for it. It's a very high compliment. I don't feel like that. There's plenty of people who went before me, and I'm just kind of following down the trail. But I appreciate the compliment.
Well,
and when I went to the library, when I said I was doing all that research on myself, I was in Dallas, Texas, and I was homeless. My library experience was partly I was getting out of the scorching heat of the summer in Texas. I was born and raised in Ohio. I wasn't used to the summers in Texas, and I had no home. I had no job. I had no car. And so by going in the library, well, it was air-conditioned. They had a bathroom. They had water, and they had books, all the books I wanted to read. And so a lot of my internal work and self-discovery was, well, in part thanks to being homeless. That's kind of an odd thing to say, but thanks to being homeless and thanks to the public library, and, of course, thanks to me taking the time to open the books and read them, I was able to initiate that change. Well,
and it really, I mean, with that saying, it's like you can't see the light if you don't know darkness, you know? So, I mean, it's kind of that, it's part of our journey, part of your journey, going through that. Everyone has their dark night of the soul that they go through. And
I think the good news is they don't have to keep going through it. They can wake up in a nanosecond. They never have to go through it again. I think there's another limiting belief that's out there that says, oh, you need to have the bad so you appreciate the good. Mm-hmm. I don't believe that at all, because all of us have already had, we've had bad enough that we know what it is. We don't need to relive it to remind us of the good. Mm-hmm. We don't need to have that anymore. So that's another, there's so many beliefs that are limiting, and that's one that's out there. You don't need to keep suffering. You don't need to have more bad experiences to balance out your life or to make sure that you're happy or that you appreciate things. You can stop the suffering. You can stop the bad experiences. You've already had more than enough. That train is over. Get off of it, and now let's get on the happy train, the passion train, the spiritual train, and let's enjoy our lives and make a difference in each other's lives.
I think that's absolutely perfect. It's interesting on my spiritual journey. I mean, before, there was a point that I got to where it's like, wow, I don't have to have trauma or chaotic situations in my life. And then life got really easy. Yes. It was fabulous. But it really is kind of looking at those beliefs, because if, you come from chaos, I mean, it's kind of what you know.
Yeah, and you think it's going to be that way because that's the reality you're currently in. But as I mentioned in one of my earlier books, The Attractor Factor, that's simply current reality. And current reality is going to change. It'll change by itself because that's the nature of life. It's going to have an ebb and flow to it. But you can accelerate the change, and you can make the change happier and more productive and healthier by changing your beliefs and reading the right material and listening to the right material and being around the more positive people and doing more positive things for yourself. You can end that old chaos. I mean, I know what the chaos is like. I know when homeless, poverty, those were really rough times. Mm-hmm. I don't have to have them again to remember what those experiences are like and to say, hey, I don't want to do that anymore. Let's go into this more positive Disney-like world.
Yeah, I agree with you exactly. I think it's very encouraging for our listeners to know that, hey, if you've had a difficult life or been going through difficult things, you don't have to have a repeat of that. There are tools out there that can help you change those belief systems and move forward in definitely a more positive and fulfilling way, because that's the whole reason we decided to show up here, was to be, happy, follow our passion, and at least in my book, is to have fun, Yeah,
I think for me, life is a process of awakening. And I think what we're here to do is awaken. And I talk a lot about that in The Awakened Millionaire, and that's even part of the reason the title has a millionaire in it and awakened in it. The millionaire part is referring to the actual cash that people want, but the awakened part is referring to the spiritual awakening of having your eyes open to the game of life and the spirituality of what this is all about, and to realize that our beliefs are creating most of it, and that we can become aware of our beliefs by just reflecting on things like, what might I be unconsciously believing to create the life I have or this moment that I have right now? Mm-hmm. And allow whatever comes up to be the potential belief that you're going to look at and then say, well, if that's the belief, do I want to keep it or do I want to replace it? And you'll probably find that you can replace your beliefs with something more empowering, something more positive that'll create a future moment that's better than the ones that were before it. But life for me is a process of awakening.
I love that, Joe. I absolutely love that. Now, I know in your book you talk about our greatest obstacles hide our greatest opportunities.
Yeah.
And I would love for you to expand on that for our listeners.
Well, the statement that's kind of within that statement is the idea that your wealth is hiding behind the very thing you're afraid to do. Mm. and this is part of what you just brought up, and it's in the book, The Awakened Millionaire, but it's the idea that your wealth is hiding behind the very thing you're afraid to do. I know I had written a book a long time ago called Spiritual Marketing, and I was afraid to release it to the public. I would give it out privately, but I didn't give it out to the public because I thought, oh, they're going to judge me as too woo-woo or too metaphysical or too crazy. And I had conservative publishers that were bringing out my books, and I thought they might let me go. So I didn't release the book because of my fear. But then one day, Bob Proctor, another teacher that's in The Secret, I had given him the book, and he announced it to an auditorium, to a bunch of people. And I was embarrassed and I was afraid, but what I realized is that they all wanted it. Mm-hmm. They all wanted that book. I ended up releasing Spiritual Marketing. It became a bestseller. It was written up in the New York Times. It was later picked up by another publisher, and it was retitled The Attractor Factor. And The Attractor Factor became my number one bestseller out of all my books. And The Attractor Factor was the book that got me invited to be into the movie The Secret. And being in the movie The Secret changed my career forever because it put me on Larry King, national TVs, having my own TV show, 14 other movies, flying around the country, and on and on and on. But all of that fame, fortune, and success would not have happened had I not been facing my fear. My fear of releasing that first book. So all of us have something like that.
All came together.
Yes.
Well, gosh, Joe, I could talk to you forever. You're just a fountain of information. My goodness. And I really appreciate you taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Oh, thank you. You're doing great stuff. Godspeed to all your listeners, and I appreciate the chance to talk about The Awakened Millionaire.
Oh, thank you, Joe. And for all of our listeners out there, definitely want to check out Joe's book, The Awakened Millionaire, and also go to his website, attractmoneynow.com. Make sure to sign up for his newsletter and get involved in his community. So you've been listening to Moments with Marianne, and we're going to be right back after this break.
Internationally recognized and award-winning author Judy Goodman works and teaches outside the box of limited thinking. Working with people from every walk of life, her goal is to empower you to be the best you can be, no matter what the challenge is. Born with the gift of seeing beyond our normal vision, she has an extraordinary gift of working with every challenge. Teaching beyond conventional wisdom, her work is described as life-changing. Visit judygoodman.com. That's judygoodman.com.
Orosco, and Susan is an award-winning author, keynote speaker, an emotional freedom technician, and a certified master hypnosis. So she has been described by many as the mind mechanic, and she has a toolbox full of information that we're going to use to go ahead and set our mind free of creating, free of things that are kind of blocking us so that we can create a life that we most desire. So welcome to the show, Susan.
Thank you, Marianne. It's great to be here on your Dream Vision show.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, this is WMEX, 1510 AM Boston, and listeners will be able to hear this again replay on Dream Vision. I know that you've been on radio and TV all over the country, and definitely in the LA basin as well.
Yes, especially there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. So you have this, you have a free download for people that can go to your website, and it's called Rescue Your Dreams, 52 Tips to Live the Life You Want. So what does that mean by rescuing our dreams?
Well, I believe that we all have dreams. We all have things that we want to accomplish in life. These things are inspired. They're inside of us, in our hearts especially. And very often we think in terms of, well, if my dreams come true, that's great. If they don't come true, oh, well, but it's not really about us anymore. If a dream is inside you and inspiring you, then it is supposed to happen. It's something that's seeking for you as well. And when we chase a dream, it's kind of like what Joe Vitale was saying on your show before me. If you're chasing something, it's a desperation and it runs away from you. So you don't really want to chase your dream. You want to rescue it, because all that's really going on is that there's something standing between you and the dream. And the key is to remove that block, to remove that negativity, so that you can attract the dream to come closer to you. And to think of it in terms of the dream wanting you just as bad as you want it, wanting to be with you because it knows it belongs to you, and you want to take it home and make it your own.
That's fabulous. I mean, and when I saw your download that you have, Rescue Your Dreams, 52 tips to live the life you want, I thought it was a perfect fit for the theme for the show today, because it just fits nicely with what we're talking about. So why are dreams and goals so important to sharpening the spirit?
Well, once again, like what Joe Vitale said, and I don't want to keep repeating what Joe said, but I was listening to the show and he was saying a lot of wonderful things. But he was saying that the very thing that you're afraid to do, the wealth that's yours, that could be yours, standing behind what you're afraid to do. It's the same thing with spiritual growth. You can become a spiritual giant as you go searching for your dreams, as you achieve them, because what it takes is for the hero in you to rise and for you to get past your fears, past your negative energies and blocks, and very good reasons as to why you cannot achieve those dreams. But when you set your mind to it, you set your path, you're ready to go, and you're saying, I don't care what comes in my way, I'm going to achieve that dream, then what happens is a transformation within you. The hero rises, the strength rises, and you will stop at nothing. And when you achieve that dream, it's not just something that's about you, that, wow, I achieve this dream. No, it's not that anymore. You have shifted. You have risen the consciousness of everybody, because everybody moves with you upward, especially those people around you, your friends, families, your spouse, and everyone can feel the shift of your evolution, and you want to do that. And with every dream and every goal that you achieve, that will happen to you.
Well, and that's so important, because it really does lift up a community, our family, the people we're surrounded with, the people we work with. When we raise our vibration and work on ourselves, it really shifts everything around us.
Yes, it does.
So I know you talk about that dreams are alive. What do you mean by that?
Well, I think that we breathe life into our dreams when we think about them, when we make plans for them, when we get inspired by them, when we think about them, when we feel that passion and that desire and that want, and you say, gosh, if I could only really have that, with every wonderful energy that you pump into it as you think about it, I believe the dream is coming alive, and it exists on another plane somewhere, and it's waiting for the proper moment for the two of you to unite. I think of it as like a child, that you nurture your dreams, and the dreams can grow and become very strong and powerful. And as a result of you nurturing and being good for them and fighting for them and rescuing them and doing everything you can to bring them home with you, as they grow up, they will just take you places you've never been. It's happened to me so many times with every goal that I reach. I just end up in places I never thought I would end up. And I know that the reason I'm there at this wonderful place, like giving a workshop in Sedona or giving a speech in New York, and to young people, entrepreneurs, and when I see that and that feeling of purpose and fulfillment I know could have never happened if I hadn't pursued that dream, if I hadn't not pursued it but rescued it, if I hadn't wanted it and done the work that it took to remove everything that stood between me and the dream. And that's basically what this is all about. And that's what my program, Mind Mechanics, is about. It's about removing that which stands in the way, because it's not running after a dream. It's more like the dream is already there, but the question that should be asked is, what's standing in my way? Why can't I see it? Why can't I reach it? Why can't I touch it? And it's usually because you have feelings of perhaps unworthiness or fears or shame or guilt or hate or perhaps even feelings of loss and lack, and you've got all this negativity going on that keeps you separate from it. It really is just more like a curtain, if anything else. And to be able to remove those blocks brings you closer to what you're supposed to be doing in life. And dreams, they're like milestones. They reflect your purpose. They're telling you where you're supposed to be, where you're supposed to be going, and what you're supposed to be doing. And so I think anything that has that kind of effect on a human heart is alive.
Now, this actually takes me right to the next question I had for you, because I know that you do. I'd like for you to take us through a clearing conversation with the dragon-like blocks, and I think it would be kind of fun to do that. Take some time and do that with our listeners.
Sure. Okay, I can give a free session, a real quick one right now, if you want.
Oh, awesome.
Okay, good. All right, I want you and your listeners, if that's okay, if I have permission, to imagine a dream, something they really want to accomplish, and they just think that it's something they can't reach. Maybe they're frustrated. They've tried everything. They've done this. They've done that. They've read this book. They've bought this program, and they're just not getting it. So that frustration is there. Or if it's a different kind of negative energy, like maybe fear, or maybe self-sabotage, or maybe just plain resistance, whatever that emotion is, I want you to feel it right now. And on a scale from 0 to 10, try and get it to a 10, because we want that negative energy fully present. Or you can call it the dragon, because the dream is like the damsel in distress, and you are the hero, and you're going to rescue the dream, but you have to fight the dragon. And I'm going to show you right now an example of fighting a dragon. So what you do is you call the dragon forward. You call that negative energy forward. Bring it to a 10. Then if you have to picture things or remember something that happened or something you thought that made you panic and think, oh, my God, I'm never going to accomplish this dream, or whatever it is, but bring that negativity up high, as high as you can anyway. So I'm going to assume you've got it nice and high. Do you, Marianne?
I sure do.
Okay, now this is the conversation. You're going to repeat after me, and remember, you're talking to the energy. I feel you.
I feel you.
You're powerful.
You are powerful.
You've been with me a long time.
You've been with me a long time.
But it's time for you to go.
But it's time for you to go.
This is what I want.
This is what I want.
Give me what I want.
Give me what I want. Goodness gracious, we are running up against the end of our time here.
Okay.
Now, Susan, do you have sessions that you do with people?
I do, and you can find that on my website.
Oh, perfect. And I know that that they could go ahead and get your sessions there. That's SusanOrosco.com, OROSCO.com. Go ahead and sign up and download her free book, which is called Rescue Your Dreams, 52 Tips to Live the Life You Want. Thank you so much for being on the show today, Susan.
Thank you, Marianne.
Yeah, that was fabulous. And we'll be right back right after this little break here.
Have you ever had the sense that your thoughts might actually be doing something? Ancient secrets of manifesting have been masterfully revealed in the award-winning book Manifesting 123 by Ken Elliott. For the first time, the author's experiences and stories in this book describe exactly how your thoughts can create anything. You've been doing this all your life, but it's never been fully explained for you until now. Visit manifesting123.com for more information today. Manifesting123.com. Ben Wexler is a gifted leadership development and strategy consultant for professionals who want to transform their organizations and careers. Through a uniquely personalized set of processes, participants discover their unique knowledge, how to leverage that knowledge and experience, and then put it all together with a global strategy. You're more valuable, your organization is more valuable, and the change is viral. Contact Ben at 630-881-1074. 630-881-1074.
Our final guest of the show. I'm so excited to have her with us. She is highly gifted and just an amazing person, Caroline Zanni, and she's an intuitive medium, and she loves being able to help people deliver the message from spirit to her clients, and she wrote this amazing book called Piper, Once and Again, and we're going to be kind of delving into that a little bit. And her book has gotten rave reviews. Oh, my gosh, everyone that's read this book has amazing things to say about it. Publishers Weekly called her book a hint of previous incarnation, so traumatic its lessons, love, and secrets have lingered beyond lives. And then also Kirkus Review, which is very well known in the library sector, is saying an unsettling and haunting tale of two heroines that linger after the telling. So welcome to the show, Carolyn.
Thank you, Marianne. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it is definitely a pleasure. Now, your book, oh my goodness, what inspired you to write Piper Once and Again?
Oh, it's a very long story, but let's see if I can do this quickly. I was just living kind of a mundane, sort of what I look back at now as a normal life, when a woman, a very intuitive woman, came up to me and asked if I was writing a book. And I told her that I wasn't, and she insisted that I had this story in me, and she saw me writing it, and that it would help other people, and there was a strong message. And that's when I realized that she was, in fact, what most people would call a psychic or an intuitive. And I went home that night, and I sat down at my computer to prove her wrong, and there it was, this story with characters and faces and scents and scenery and dates, and it all just came. And every night I sat down, and at the end of 76 evenings, I had this book that was so much more than a book, and I knew at that time that I needed to do something with it because it was a very powerful message.
Well, and so during the whole course of this, you really didn't want to write this book. I mean, when you sat down at the computer every night, you were basically going, I'll show you, I'm not going to write this book at all.
Right. And as it began to take shape, my thinking shifted a little bit because then I became excited to find out what was going to happen next in the story. And my family laughed and said, well, you're writing it. Don't you know what's going to happen next? And I said, no, I don't know until I sit down that evening. And it really was a very interesting and special experience for me.
Mm-hmm. Now, after you wrote this book, you kind of squirreled it away for about a year. Mm-hmm. And things in your life started to really change, and you had some very traumatic experiences that happened.
Yes. And at the time, of course, I didn't know why these things were happening to me. I was always raised with the belief if you're a good person, good things happen to you. I didn't understand that God had a much bigger plan for me. And the only way that Spirit really could get my attention, I think, was to shake me up. And they did a very good job of shaking me up. But at the same time, I know I was protected. And I know that might sound strange, but I knew that I was protected. And I knew that there was a reason for all of this as I began to walk through it. And I went through some very dark times. And my manuscript actually fell off of the shelf after about a year and onto my lap. And I thought, oh, my goodness, you're here. I forgot about you. And I would flip through my manuscript, and my eyes would fall on words that I don't remember writing, but they were words I needed to see at that time.
So your book is really a journey through time.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's a journey through time. It's a journey through pain and healing, loss and sorrow and redemption, and then what's next? You know, we love those stories of people who go through very difficult times and come out on top. But when you're going through a difficult time, you don't stop and think, maybe I'm one of those people. Maybe I'll come out on top too. And I think that's a really important message to remember, that God brings us to things, but he's never going to expect more of us than we can actually handle.
Well, and in your book, you, because you've, from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, since writing this book, you've really been kind of thrown on this path of being more of an intuitive.
Yes.
And,
yes.
And so, how does that correlate with the book?
Well, it's so interesting because when I wrote the book, I did not believe in, again, that word psychic. I grew up very Catholic, and we were told that was, hogwash, and that, don't do anything except, what the church condones. And so this is all a very interesting experience for me, and I also say God has a very good sense of humor, because I went from that thinking to writing this book about this woman who, was raised in a very strict Catholic home and whose parents wanted to protect her, really from her own intuition. They were scared of what she knew and what she remembered from a former lifetime. And so they went to great lengths to erase that from her. And really it was her intuition that could have really made her life, I don't want to say easier, but certainly richer and more meaningful. And so, art imitates life. And now here I am working as an intuitive medium and giving readings and workshops and helping people learn to develop their own intuition so that maybe their life can be a little bit less of a struggle, and to really find the meaning in the struggle, and to really live with joy and gratitude.
Well, and that's one thing as people are reading this book is, is about, in many ways, is about your, past life journey. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then how that relates, with just life, in some ways of life going on now, and just being able to, be able to understand the two of them.
Absolutely, and I really fully believe now that a lot of this story was my story in another time, because I feel it, and things come up for me that I really can't explain any other way. And it just really gives you this sense that life is so much bigger and so much richer than we can imagine. God has a much bigger imagination for us than we do. And I like to look back, and I like to honor, whoever I was before and wherever I came from before, because now I have a chance to make that even better, make it a richer experience, and to reach out and help other people really deal with their own, what they see as tragedy or what they see as a storm, and really say, it's all here for a reason. Now let's move forward and see what's next.
Well, and from what I understand, when someone remembers something in regards to a past life, a lot of times there's information there that would benefit them in the current one that they're walking in. And
absolutely.
So, to be able to walk through that and really kind of discover the answers that are there for you, it takes a strong person to be able to do that.
Yeah,
and,
it does.
I really commend you.
Thank you.
The book, there's parts of it where it's just like, oh, man, I got to put this down and cry.
Yes, I know, and I still do, and there are times when, I don't want to give any spoilers away, but when I'll see a little boy, I have a daughter of my own who I love dearly, but whenever I see a little boy, a little toddler boy, I just say, oh, my gosh, I want to go back there, And so I honor all of that.
Well, and it's really, I think that's great that you are bringing this conversation forward, because there are a lot of people that have those kind of rememberings or those instances. And I know in your book you talk about smell as a memory. And so can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, so Piper, she, in modern day, Piper has these, what she calls scent aches. And, this is a term that she used when she was young to try to describe when a scent that was just sort of there behind her nose, it wasn't in her immediate environment, and only she could smell it, but it would come with a feeling, and it would come with a sliver of a memory, and she didn't really know how to describe it, and so she sort of pushed it away. But these were things that were reaching out from over a century before, trying to guide her, trying to help her and help her remember. And I know I experienced that, not as often as an adult, but when I was a child, I experienced that an awful lot. And again, if no one is teaching you about intuition, or no one is teaching you about the possibility of having been here before, we can write a lot of things off. And I remember being told a lot, Caroline, you have a great imagination. and then that was it. It was just, you have a great imagination. And I think that my life would have been, like I said before, a little bit richer if I had learned to just delve a little bit into that and see where it took me.
And where that journey goes. And what a journey it is. Oh, my goodness.
Yes, and it's exciting. And really, I can look back at all the trauma and all of the things that I had to go through, those difficult times, and say, embrace that too, and say, I would not have been on this path if I didn't go through those difficult times. Yeah.
Well, and I think it really brings the conversation forward. It allows people that are having these kind of situations to, this book I think will help answer some questions for them. If you're having any kind of past life memory or just a memory, you're like, where is that coming from?
Yes. Yes, and it's exciting. It's exciting because, like you said, you can use that information in this lifetime and see where it takes you and see where you need to maybe make some changes so that you can live your best life.
Well, I know that you help people with past life regressions. They can see about booking that on your website?
Yes, everything's there on my website.
Okay, perfect. And so your website, our listeners can definitely pick up your book, Piper Once and Again, and go visit your website, CarolynZaney.com, and that's ZANI.com. I definitely suggest, picking up the book, checking out her information, and, booking some time with Carolyn.
Great. Thank you, Marianne.
Oh, and thanks for being on the show today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Definitely. And for all of our listeners out there, I'd like to thank you for tuning in today. And remember, make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Moments with Marianne airs every Thursday, Friday, and Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.